Hello everybody! This is another all-age service. It's been so nice to hear people's comments about what they've been thinking about and praying about since watching the other all-age services. It makes us feel like we really are part of a family, even though we can't be at church every Sunday or even every Thursday like we're meeting now. So this week it's a little bit different because I'm filming outside. Hopefully you can still see and hear me okay. Now I've brought you outside because I've brought you to meet some of my friends. The trees. I love trees. Absolutely adore them. I think they are fascinating. I think they are beautiful. And for me, they have taught me so much about who God is and who He says we are as well. A little bit later, I'm going to be introducing you to a little tree friend of mine, a little apple tree that was given to me many years ago. But let me just remind you about the biology of a tree. If we can swing the camera around, let's find a lovely tree to look at. Oh, beautiful. Right, so let's look at that tree in front of us. We can see the big, tall trunk. We can see right up at the top. We can see the leaves, the shoots and the leaves. And if we go back down to the ground, it stops there, doesn't it? Stops there, right at the ground. That's where the roots go in. The roots go deep into the ground. And I want us today to be thinking about those roots down into the ground, then the shoots, so the leaves coming off, and then at the end of the branches, quite often on a lot of trees, you get the fruits as well. And the roots in the ground, they push through all the soil and they grab all the nutrients they need out of the soil. They get the water that they need, they get the vitamins that they need. And the shoots get all the sunlight they need. And when you combine those things, you get the fruits. Now the apple tree I'm going to show you later is very, very small. But some of the trees in this woodland here, if we move the camera around again, some of the trees in here are enormous, absolutely massive. And do you want to know the difference between those trees and my little apple tree? My little apple tree is in the tiniest little pot in all the world. These trees aren't confined by a pot or anything. These trees have got as much space as they want to thrust out their roots and get even more nutrients and vitamins and water than anywhere else. So, my little apple tree isn't going to get much bigger, is it? If it stays in that tiny pot, it's not going to end up like these trees here. So maybe later on, I think maybe we need to replant my apple tree, and we'll talk a little bit about how Jesus wants to replant us so our roots can dig down deep and get big and strong. But first, I'm going to read you a story.
It starts with a seed. It starts with a seed. But where does it lead? To a root, to a shoot, to a few tiny leaves. As days turn to weeks, the seedling has grown. It's a dragonfly perch, a ladybird throne. But it wants to grow bigger. It yearns to climb high, pushing down through the soil, stretching up to the sky. How can something so small turn into a tree, which is such an incredibly big thing to be? It takes many summers and autumns and springs. With each passing year, the trunk builds up its rings. Strong branches reach out, they give shelter and shade, a home where the animals don't feel afraid. Even in winter, when the leaves have all dropped, the tree is asleep, but life has not stopped. It is waiting for spring, for the warmth of the sun, when buds burst from branches. What colour, what fun. See, it's not just a tree, but a wonderful world, full of beetles and grubs and squirrels and birds, all busily making a life of their own in their leaf-laden, bark-bound, arboreal home. The seeds are now ready to float in the breeze. And some of them might just grow into new trees.
Wasn't that a beautiful story? It's one of my favourites, and I love the illustrations in it as well. And it tells us all about how a tree starts as a tiny seed, and it grows and it grows and it grows, and its roots go down into the soil, and its branches stretch out into the sky, and it becomes a home for loads of other living things. And then it produces something which can then fly off and start the process again, another seed to grow another tree. And I said before how much I love trees. I really, really love them. And they've taught me so much about God and about faith as well. And I promised you that I would introduce you to my apple tree. So this is my apple tree. And if you look up at the top, can you see? It's just started to sprout some blossoms all the way up. It's absolutely beautiful. Now this apple tree was given to me a few years ago as a gift by a group of people who knew that I love trees very, very much. And when I first got it, it was probably only about this high, and it was in an itty bitty little pot, maybe even a little bit smaller than this. And when I first got it, it produced maybe only one little spring flower, one little blossom, and the tiniest little apples, just one or two. As it's grown, it's produced a few more. So you can see this year that there's going to be blossoms here, there's blossoms up there, there's one starting here and a few more. And everywhere where there is a blossom, there's the potential for it to grow a little apple, but they will still only be tiny. And my lovely apple tree is very healthy, but it can't grow any bigger because it's in this pot here. It's in a small pot. Its roots are contained by this small amount of soil. And that is really similar to our relationship with Jesus. Let me tell you this. There's an amazing passage in a book called Jeremiah in the Bible. Jeremiah chapter 17 verses 7 and 8. And it says this. It says, "Blessed are those who trust in the Lord and have made the Lord their hope and confidence. They are like trees planted along a riverbank, with roots that reach deep into the water. These trees are not bothered by the heat, and they're not worried by long months of drought. Their leaves stay green, and they never stop producing fruit." Now that really reminds me of how we can be in our faith journey. So I'm just going to borrow Ivy now. Ivy, can I borrow you?
Yeah.
Now imagine, Ivy, you come here. No, come here first. So this is Ivy, and Ivy loves Jesus, don't you? And Ivy has dinner around her mouth. And Ivy is also already bathed for bed, which we didn't really think about, did we? Before we thought that we would do this with you. But Ivy loves Jesus, but at the minute, let's pretend that Ivy's just in a small pot. She's not really spending much time with Jesus. She's not really reading her Bible very much. She's not spending much time worshipping Jesus. And maybe she's not remembering just how big Jesus can be for her. And so she can't really get her roots deep into Jesus, can you?
No.
So what Ivy needs to do is Ivy needs to plant herself in the big pot of soil. I think should we have a look inside this pot? Look at all of that soil. So stand still, Ivy. And all of this soil represents all of the goodness that Jesus can give us. This soil represents all of his love and his power and his healing and his wisdom. And so the more Ivy plants herself in that stuff, the more Ivy spends time with Jesus, the bigger you're going to grow in Jesus, aren't you? That doesn't mean that Ivy's body will get bigger. It means what's inside Ivy, her spirit, will get bigger and bigger. And you'll grow and grow, won't you, your branches? And the fruit that Ivy will make in her life will be bigger and more amazing. So fruit like patience and goodness and kindness and self-control, all of those things will grow bigger and bigger. Thank you very much, Ivy. Let's hop you out. We're going to have to wash you again before bed, aren't we? So let's go back to this tree here. So what do we need to do with this tree then so that it can grow and it can be as healthy as it wants to be? We need to replant it. So shall we do that now? Let's do it now. Okay, so we need to take it out of this pot. Let's take the rest of that soil in here. Now, if you have a look here, can you see? Look, its roots want to stretch out, really, really want to stretch out. But it can't stretch out because of the pot. So we're going to dig a big hole. Ivy and Leo, do you want to help me?
Yep.
Dig in. Those worms are great. We want to keep worms. Okay, let's put it in. Let's cover it all up with soil. Well done, and we'll get some more soil in a bit. Push it down. Oh, great. Let's let go. Now we'll make it a bit more secure later. But now, thank you very much, Leo and Ivy. You can sit down. But now my apple tree can spread its roots down. It can get bigger and bigger and more beautiful and produce more fruit. So, my challenge to you this week is, how do you think you can stretch your roots out into Jesus? How do you think you can be spending more time getting to know God, getting to know Jesus and finding out all that they have in store for you? And let me leave you with this amazing verse here. And I want to read this verse over you. This is my prayer to each one of you today. It's from Ephesians 3, verse 17, and it says, it's talking about if you do trust Jesus with all your heart and you want to get to know him, it says then Christ will make his home in your heart as you trust in him. Your roots will grow down into God's love and keep you strong. And that's my prayer for you this week. Okay, so finally, I've got a craft for you. We're doing things slightly different this week because you need an extra item this week. So you need a piece of paper. If you have any green paper in the house, then that would be brilliant, or card. If not, then don't worry, I don't have any green paper and we can make it work. You need a pair of scissors and an adult to help you cut. You need a glue stick or some sticky glue, the spreadable glue. A green pen if you've not got green paper, and an old cereal box or some other cardboard. I'm using a Weetabix box. Other cereals are available, but Weetabix is my favourite cereal, so that's what I'm using. Okay, so pause the video now if you need to go and get your stuff, and then come back in a minute with everything gathered. Okay, have you got everything? Now, I don't have any green paper and we're making a tree, so the top of what we're making needs to be green. But don't worry, if you're the same, just do what I've done. Just scribble or paint or use a felt tip, whatever you can, all over your paper. And you need to do it front and back, like this. So all your paper needs to be covered to make it all look leafy green. Okay, so then you need to fold your paper in half, like this. And then cut along the line. Ask an adult to cut for you so you don't hurt yourself. Along. Brilliant. Okay, so you've got two bits like that. Put one to one side, and this one you're going to fold in half again. And you're going to do the same thing. Ask someone to cut along the line for you or to help you cut along the line yourself. Okay, so then you've got two bits. Amazing. Okay, So you put those to one side, and using your big old cardboard box or piece of card, you're going to cut a strip along the edge all the way along, and this will be the trunk of your tree. So we're going to make this into a tree. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to fold this forward, flip it over, fold it back, flip it over, fold it, flip it over and back all the way along. So you'll end up with one like that, and then you'll do the same with that piece of paper. You'll end up with another one like that. So you've got two like concertinaed fan things, and then you're going to fold those over like this. See, got one like that and one like that. Still doesn't look like a tree yet, does it? So then you're going to take your strip and you fold that over, so you've just got the brown showing. And mine is very cleverly already folded at the bottom for my tree to stand up. You might need to fold yours, but there you have it. Okay, and you're going to take your first little fan. You're going to use your sticky glue stick. You're going to do a bit of glue on the trunk here. Stick it on. And then look, there's a big gap there. You're going to stick that big gap together like that. You're going to take your other fan, you're going to stick it on top. Stick that on top. Oh, another gap, more glue. Stick that like that. Glue on the top. Push your branch over. Okay, now this is the clever bit. Are you ready? When you open it up, look, you've made your tree. Hooray, isn't it lovely? So then the last thing you need to do is just put some glue on the inside so that you can stick your trunk together like that. And there you've got your magnificent tree, just like we've been talking about today. Now I haven't done anything else to mine yet. I've got two. Look, here's the one I made earlier. So you might want to use your leftover piece of paper and make another one if you want. So you've got two trees, and then it is up to you what you want to do with them now. So a few ideas could be for you to get some coloured pieces of paper and to stick it all over as your fruit, to remember that when we dig deep into God we see fruit grow in our life. You might want to chat to people in your family and find a Bible verse and maybe memorise it. Maybe you want to use one of the ones that I talked about earlier in the video. You could write it on. You could perhaps stick your tree on a piece of card, whatever you want. You think about how you would like to decorate it so that you can remember everything that we have talked about today. So we're going to finish with some prayers as usual, and I'll see you again next week. Bye!
Hello everybody, I'm just going to do a little prayer for all the beauty that God's made, and it's deep in my heart. It might be in your heart too. I'm just going to do a little prayer. Dear God, thank you for all the beauty that you made for us. Thank you that you made the world so pretty. Animals, the sky, the flowers and everything you made. And I just want to thank you as well that we all have a heart and we all have love in it. And we thank you for our mums and dads. We thank you for all the beauty animals and the rabbits and sheep and the pig. And I pray, dear God, I pray for all the people who are stuck at home, and especially for the elderly. And I pray that you'll give us patience, and the people who are getting really frustrated from staying at home. And I thank you that you that we're close to you, and even though we're at home, we will still praise you And I pray that you'll help us dig fruits into you. Amen.